for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and thank you for watching on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Tell all your friends about it. Our YouTube channel is absolutely free to subscribe. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. The Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Playground. Looking for the ultimate entertainment destination? Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action, a world-class poker experience. Playground is the 2025 winner of Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the Global Poker Awards. Indulge your taste buds at their incredible restaurants and let loose with live music and electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across the Mercier Bridge. Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary at Playground? It's all there. Visit playground.ca to discover more. Also brought to you in part by Bittt at Tibi, who launched their new ultra lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing, and brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. They are a top fleet employer. Just ask Forbes, by the way. I want to bring in one of my favorites, so much so that he's also with me on my radio show Le Forum on BPM Sport. Denis Gauthier of RDS. Denis, how are you?
I'm good, Tony. How are you?
Very, very good. Denis looks like he's in the studios of RDS.
Yeah.
Denis, on Monday night, Eric Engels joined me, and we talked about the Florida Panthers who are in the Stanley Cup final. And, the Panthers shared kind of their secrets as to keys to their success. And right. Paul Maurice obviously has implemented a playing philosophy and has everyone on board, and they've stuck with it with the last several years. And obviously they've had success because they're in their third consecutive Stanley Cup final. Eric Engels talked to Eric Ekblad about some of those keys to success as well. And they talked about an unwavering commitment to the style of play, an unwavering commitment to their forecheck, an unwavering commitment to their philosophy, an unwavering commitment to basically everyone do their job to the best of their ability. Tonight, I want to have, I want to take a deep dive into the composition of the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, because they say that in sports, when you go far or when you win, they're copycat leagues, and teams try to copy. Take a look and say, okay, hold on a second. What did they do? What's the composition of their team? And should we copy that? If they're having success with it, maybe we can too. And there's something that I think sticks out to you.
Absolutely. I think you look at the way the teams are built, the way they play, and the way that that Eric said that they want to play, they need to have a certain type of players to play that style of game, right? So to get in the forecheck, be physical. And I think both of the teams in the finals are teams that have a lot of size throughout their lineup, at forward, where they can have an impact on the forecheck. And not only do they have size, they can skate. They're big men that skate. And same thing on defense. Like a lot of their defensemen on both teams are very mobile, and they skate like the wind, but they're 6'3", 6'4", and they can, some of them can punish, some of them can skate and play offense, but there's a variety of skill sets there. But
Mikkola is a great example, right? At 6'5", who could skate, a 6'5" mobile defenseman.
Well, you look at, when you look at Darnell Nurse, and you look at Ekblad, he's a big physical, more of a stay-at-home guy, but with a big shot, but he can skate all right too. And so I mean, it's just the way that those teams have decided to go and have success, and the teams that have been going that way lately seems like they've haven't been having more success. I remember during the 04-05 lockout, you know, when we changed the rules and you took out the red line and decided to let the small players, you know, have room and space to play without being hooked and grabbed and punished. The game went a certain direction, but after a while, it seems like they're coming back in a direction. And now it's not that the big guys are physical and they slow down the smaller guys. It's the big guys can play and the big guys can skate. You know, they become athletes a lot younger, and we can pick and choose guys from a younger age where, you know, we'll draft them and we'll develop them. We'll take the time to develop them. But the kids are so much better now. So, you know, a good big player will always have an advantage on a good small player.
All right, I hear you. Do you, when you say a big player, do you kind of like look at height or more so size?
Yeah.
Like some will say that Nick Suzuki is 5'11". Others say, you kidding me or what? He's probably 208 and he's thick and he's hard like a wall.
Yep.
Type of
Yep.
thing. So in your opinion, Nick Suzuki's 5'11", but he's not a small player?
Well, he's not a small player, yeah, but I would call him a big player too. He's a heavy player, right? Like he's, and not in weight, but in the way he plays. I mean, he plays a heavy game when he gets involved in battles and puck protection battles and net front situation. He's got a heavy stick, a heavy body, protects the puck well. He skates well, but I wouldn't call him an intimidating, you know, as far as his stature goes. So, but the way he's built makes him a guy that I wouldn't shy away from having on my team any year, any time, because he doesn't shy away from that stuff, and he can handle the big boys when he's in the battles with them. So, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it and different players. I got some big players that play small and that I wouldn't want on my team, right? So it's just,
I hear you.
It just depends how, you know, your style of play. But, you know, a 5'9" with a guy with a dog, you know, like a dog on a bone that plays hard and physical. I mean, there's a certain limit that I'm willing to go to as far as height, I guess.
So obviously Cole Caulfield's not very big. Brendan Gallagher's not very big. Lane Hudson's not very big. Alex Newhook is not very big.
Right.
And who else would you have in the category that for you are?
Well, I look at the top 12 guys we had in the last game of the season. I think 5 of them were 6 feet and under. You know, I wouldn't call Jake Evans a small player, but he doesn't play all that big. He's 6 feet tall. He works hard. Like he gets in battles, but I wouldn't call him a heavy player as much. You know, Gallagher's a smaller player too. He plays hard. He plays bigger than his size. You know, his heart allows him to play, you know, to play that way, but I wouldn't call him a really big player. And it works fine. I guess I can have some of these guys in the lineup on any team, and we're not talking about just the Canadiens, but I can have some of these guys on the team. But if there's too many throughout, I just think it impacts the way that you want to play the game and force your will onto the opposition. So, and for me, regular season is one thing. These guys can have tons of success. And you look at the way the teams were built in the finals and Final Four, and you look who had success and who didn't. I mean, there's a common denominator, right? A lot of it's just the rigor of playing 4 rounds and going through 2 or 3 or 4 teams that are physical and they're coming at you and they're laying hits on you. It's just durability, I guess, is where I'm trying to get to. So that's why I say sometimes it's hard when you have too many small players on your team.
You sent over a shopping list or a wish list or call it whatever you want. Shane Gaumont and master control, of which there are 3 or 4 centermen and 1 right-handed defenseman. So why don't we go through your list one at a time, and we'll take a look at their situation and try and break down their game. Let's just give me a name, and Shane will bring it up.
Okay, well, let's just make sure those are names that I did go all through the the cap situation of every team. Some teams are tightened by the cap, and they're going to have to make decisions. I'm just looking for guys that will fit the bill of what we need. And sometimes it's a wish list. Sometimes it might be possible or impossible to get. But I look at a guy like Tage Thompson, right? Tage Thompson in Buffalo is a team that haven't made the playoffs in seems like I was 12 maybe the last time they made the playoffs, and they've been retired for 16 years. But jokes aside, I mean, he's a big guy in Buffalo that, who knows if he becomes available, because they're desperate to make the playoffs, and they might be wanting to change a bit of the identity of that team and the core that's been there for a while. And he had a bit of a bounce back year last year from the previous season. So, I mean, that makes him interesting for whoever's trying to get him. But at the same time, is Buffalo really willing to let him go? But I think he's got 5 years left on his deal at just over $7 million. So he's got a reasonable price for a 6'6" forward that can play center, and he's a right winger. At that age, I think he fits. He's still well into the age group of the Montreal Canadiens wanting to be, giving it runs year after years for the next, for many years, and he's still going to be a good player for many years, and he's a shooter. There's no doubt about that. He's a 2-time 40-goal scorer, and he's a guy that's very dangerous, short, like close to net, but also far from the net. Like he's a long-range shooter too that can score from 30 or 40 feet. He can dangle defensemen. He's got decent speed for a big, tall guy.
Yeah.
And being a center, I can only imagine him being, in our top six with the quality players a couple of quality players that we have in our wings with, Caulfield and Demidov and Slavkovsky and maybe someone else we're able to bring in the top six. I think he could be a guy that would be interesting to knock on the door and see if that guy's available.
This is very interesting. And like you mentioned, a cap hit of $7.142 million. Mm-hmm. He's completed 3 years of a 7-year deal, so he's got 4 years left at that money. It'll take him to UFA at age 32. So what is the most attractive things here? Let's rattle them off. You're talking about a guy who scored 44 goals last year, 29 and 71 games the year before, 47 and 78 games the year before that, 38 and 78. You're talking about a guy who can score goals, number one.
Right.
Number two, with 68, 94, 56, and 72 points, you're talking about a guy who can put up points.
Yep.
Number three, at 6'6" and 225 pounds or whatever he is, that is one big body and one very hard guy to move. Number four, you would be getting him in the prime years of his hockey career. You're not getting him too young. You're not getting him too old. Now, although everyone likes to hold on to good players, I think you raise a very good point. Do the Buffalo Sabres have enough good players in their organization to say, okay, we're going to start building around what we have, and we're going to be able to get in the next couple of years? Maybe because they have Rasmus Dahlin and they have Owen Power and they have Quinn and they have Tage Thompson and they got Norris, and maybe they might say that.
Yep.
Or maybe they say, you know what? We tried to do a rebuild before on a couple occasions. We never really knew how to do it. We have the recipe right now. Let's trade away some really great players that we have here, and let's try and start this thing over. But this time, we're not going to make the same mistakes. Right. Even if that is to happen, though, you're trading a player like that within your own division. It probably doesn't matter if you decide to go the way of the rebuild, right?
Right.
But he's definitely a great player. He's definitely a great player.
And you know what? Like maybe last year was the better time to try and take a stab at him because he had a bit of an off year, right? He was under the 30-goal mark, so. Maybe this year he just gives them hope and they want to keep him. But, you try to look around the league and you listen to the presser, Kent Hughes' presser and Gorton and what they were saying and how they were saying it and what they were looking for and their observations after the series against Washington and without saying it, but being pushed around was an issue for the Montreal Canadiens against Washington. So, I just think he fills in nicely in that top six where – you look at the way our top six at times was built, if in the last little bit, Caulfield's a smaller guy. Suzuki's under 6 feet. You had Newhook there that's under 6 feet. You had, at the end of the year, with the injuries, you had Evans that's 6 feet tall. You had 2 or 3 guys that are under 6 feet in your top six, right? So, and I love all these guys. They all bring something in different roles and different things. But I just think that's, if your top six are the guys that are going to be on the ice more often, it'd be preferable if you can add some size to a couple of these guys. And Slavkovsky's he's a bit of an answer to that too. If he plays up to his size and puts a little, FU into his game, then he becomes that much better and more, more utile or versatile to help this team win too.
Let's go with another centerman. Who do you want to bring me up a name? And
Well,
Shangomo will bring up the chart.
One Mason McTavish from Anaheim is a name that's been bounced around, and maybe that's a different way of acquiring him. Maybe it's a trade, but maybe it's just an offer sheet. I think he's finishing his entry level deal now. He's 22 years old, 6'1", 218. So that he comes into that category we talked earlier. He's not overly tall.
No,
but he's close to 220 pounds. He's a couple inches taller than Suzuki, but he's a heavy player, right? And he's, like I was talking about, dog on a bone. He's kind of that kind of player too, right? So
love this player. I would offer sheet him any day of the week and twice on Sunday. In terms of a trade, though, the reason why this one becomes really complex is if we agree that the Anaheim Ducks are one of the 5 organizations in hockey that probably have the best young player or the best prospect pool, and that they could probably go very far in about 4, 5, 6 years from now, or they can be very competitive for an extended period of time. You have guys like Leo Carlsson and Mason McTavish down the middle. Those are usually keys to success. And you want to hold on to guys like that, right?
But I understand that, but we're looking for guys that could fit our bill, right? And what we're looking for. So, I mean, he's not signed now, and I'm sure they want him there, but maybe they're thinking, we got other issues. We got so many young talent. We can sacrifice one and bring a veteran to help the young guys that we do have. Maybe a guy that's in mid to late 20s, where he's a veteran and he's got some experience, maybe some winning pedigree. But this guy's, he's got a lot of tools in his bag, right? He's just one of those guys that's not the fastest skater, but he gets there and he's creative. He's got skill. He can make plays around the net. So, and his work ethic is good. So he fits a lot of the criteria that we would be looking for if we were, general manager of the team in Montreal. And I think, but I understand that he's not an easy guy to get, right? But it's the offer sheet route, and maybe Anaheim thinks it's just too expensive, and we can't match that and go a different direction. So
once again, I've been told you have a list of 4 centermen and 1 right-handed defenseman. We got rid of 2 centermen out of the way now. Tage Thompson and Mason McTavish. Your third centerman is?
Well, let's go. Let's just Sam Bennett's another one, right? I don't believe there's a chance he would come to Montreal. He's a UFA and he's happy in Florida, and there's different rumors they would go somewhere else. But I mean, he's the type. We need some guys in our top 6 that can score some goals. And I'd be afraid to overpay him though if I were going to make an offer to get him in Montreal. And it's not the guy that I'd give 8 or 9 million, because I don't think he's worth that. He's more of a playoff guy. Season. I mean, he's a Utah player. He makes everybody big around him, and I understand he's a culture guy and all that stuff. Yeah. But I just don't think he would fit our salary chart to make that kind of offer as a UFA, right? So
his cap hit as we speak is $4.425 million. It was a 4-year deal, so 4 times $4.25 million. He is a UFA at the end of this season, obviously, come July 1st. He's 29 years old. He's an Ontario boy, by the way. Word out of Toronto, according to some, maybe it's just it's a dream that Sam Bennett might be eyeing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Toronto Maple Leafs obviously would love to eye a guy like Sam Bennett, but love him, would take him on my team, like you said, any day of the week. There's some guys that take you to the playoffs, and there's some guys that take you through the playoffs. He's probably one of those guys that takes you through the playoffs. I'd be worried about giving a big contract to a player who has never picked up more than 51 points and puts his nose in the traffic as much as he does. But
and he's missed a lot of games too. You look at that chart you have up there. I mean, the way you play, sometimes there's give and take, right? There's consequences to playing that kind of game. And consequences are injuries or getting little nicks or knacks here or there that don't allow you to play 75 to 82 games a year. So that's another risk that you would be taking if you gave him big money. So, but we all love Bennett, right? We understand why we want him, and it's just the situation where it is. And then
every team wants him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you look at him in the playoff in the playoffs, he's worth every penny. Everything he does in the playoffs is just anything to help his team win, and he contributes in many different ways. And then I got one last one, Tony. That's as a forward, I think that I call him a plan B. I think he's more of a reasonable guy to acquire and try to get. But you look at Boston this year, where they've really went downhill. They took a hard dive in the standings, and having a big guy like Pavel Zacha. I know he's not necessarily the most popular, sexy forward that you could talk about throughout the league, but
I like him.
I think he fits a bill, very nicely. Where that's 6'4" and over 200 pounds. I mean, he's another big body that. He's a dynamic player. I'll call him like that, and he's got some skill. He can be physical. He's not overly physical, but he'll finish his share of checks when needed be. But he's a guy that can move pucks and make the play progress and help guys around him. So if we can't get like a really good top end guy that would fit in very well there, I think he's a player that could be very interesting. And 28, he's still not overly young. You see, like you said with Thompson earlier, he's in his prime. He's getting some good hockey in right now. And being well surrounded, having a good D moving pucks behind him, and having some good wingers beside him, I think I think he would be a good option to have here. And he's only got a couple years left, I think, at 4.75. So his cap hit's pretty reasonable to have, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I think his cap hit is amazing. I think obviously to acquire a centerman like that, if you can, I think would be awesome. Here's a guy who picked up 47 points. It was an off season the year before, 59, 57. I think he's a player who's somewhere there in the 50s in terms of points. The only thing is, this could be contingent on Casey Middlestad having a great year. Like if Casey Middlestad has a great year, then all of a sudden, and Lindholm has a great year, you can have Lindholm and Casey Middlestad as your top two centermen if you're trying to patch. And then that can make Zacha available. But it begs the question, when was the last time the Montreal Canadiens traded with the Boston Bruins? The two teams that have a history of hating each other. They're rivals. They used to hate each other a lot more than they probably hate each other now. But they are in the same division. And you would think that Boston wants to do a reset or a retool on the fly.
Well, it all depends on what the Boston want to do, right? Which direction they take. And Kent Hughes doesn't have any history with the Boston Bruins, and it doesn't have a history with the general manager besides being an agent. And maybe they have a great relationship. Maybe they can go over that, whole history or the heat that they had between the two organizations. But it's just. I think he just becomes an interesting option to see and see what can happen there. But listen, it's just there's so many players around the league. We can spend the next 2 days and try to figure out who's available and what makes sense and not. And I had about 30 minutes to do it, to go through while I was working between two shows here. So I came up with a couple ideas that I thought made a lot of sense. Right.
But there's something that's interesting there. If I'm not mistaken, he's a Cortex management client. And of course, it's Kent's old firm that he was a part of. And the Canadiens have, a couple of players that are Cortex management. And if I'm not mistaken, his agent is Paul Capizano. And everyone knows that Kent Hughes is a great communicator and he's a great guy to work for. And everyone knows that Marty St. Louis is a great coach to play for. And look, I think the challenge is Boston, Montreal making a trade. I don't remember when was the last time they made a trade. It hasn't come to my mind. Well, the only thing that comes to my mind right now is the Canadiens sending Eric Weinrich to Boston and Boston sending Patrick Travers to the Canadiens. That was probably 20 some odd years ago. All right. Okay. So anyway, a good player for sure. On defense, right-handed defense, because I like the fact that you gave me a list of you gave us a list of 4 centermen because Lord knows the Canadiens could use one, and now you have a right-handed defenseman.
Well, obviously we're heavy on the left side, right? And now we're losing David Savard next year, which was one of our 2 only right-handed shots with Alex Carrier. So I think having a right-handed defenseman is an important part. I think having a veteran, around our D would be an important part as well. And one guy that I absolutely love, and I was talking to PJ doing the show earlier here, how much he loves his guy too, is Rasmus Anderson in Calgary. He's a dog. He's a workhorse. He's not, his size is not overly big. I think he's 6'1" and over 200 pounds, but he plays like he's 6'5" and 230. He's just a very intense guy, and he wins puck battles and he wins physical battles, and he's always there blocking shots. And I think he'd be a very, very good replacement for David Savard. And he's still under his 30s, right? I think he's 28. And he's smart, and he's he's got his share of points because he was put in that situation in Calgary the last few years. But I think the last 4 seasons I wrote, he's anywhere from 31 to 50 points, which is very interesting. And I don't know if he would be in that situation here in Montreal, because you may not touch the power play like he does or did in Calgary. But
there's something interesting here, though. Like you just said, if you take a look at his point totals, 31 this past season, 39 the year before that, 49 the year before that, 50 before that.
Yep.
It's a trend that's on the decline. So you're
Right.
probably, his value is probably at its lowest right now, all
Yep.
things considering. Also, he becomes a UFA at the end of next season. All right?
Exactly.
So if they look internally and say, you know what, this guy's probably going to break the bank, they might want to trade him either in the offseason or before the deadline, instead of actually losing him for nothing at the end of the season. This could be an interesting path.
And they're not so sure exactly what Calgary's doing with him. Like, obviously they could trade him now while he's under contract, or wait at the deadline if he doesn't want to stay. But I think most of all is it replaces David Savard's mentorship. Let's put it that way on D. I think because a lot of our guys could learn from him. He replaces our right-handed shot that we're going to miss here, and it gives another year for the two young guys, Mailloux and Reinbacher, or maybe another half a year to stay in Laval and keep developing, right? I think Reinbacher probably hasn't played enough games for me to be in Montreal to start the season next year. I think he needs to keep going. I think Mailloux had a really good, probably second half of the season this year. Playoffs have been up and down. There's some times where he's been outstanding and really good, and other times I think it's so maybe that just gives them a few more months to next year, half season, maybe a full year to keep owning their craft and get better and get that 200-foot game really well rounded before they make the step for good. And it's not when you get to the NHL, it's how long you're there for, right? So it doesn't matter if they come there in September or they come there September after or Christmas, is once they get there, are they ready and can they stay there in the NHL? And I think maybe that's a factor they may want to consider this summer. I don't know.
All right, so I'm going to surprise you because I put together a list of my own. I think 3 or 4 names, not more than that. But they're obviously not quite the impact of the players that you put in. But you need all kinds of players on a hockey team to win. You take a look at some of these teams. They have an identity on their third and fourth line. One of the things that I decided to do was, okay, you know what? Let me take a look at who are some of the hit leaders in the National Hockey League. And let me see out of that list of the top 24, top 25, if there could be some players in there that could be available. So let's take a look at the top 24 players with the most hits in the 2024-2025 season. Sherwood of the Canucks leading the way with 462 hits, so much more than everyone else. It's not even funny. Olivier of Columbus with 306. Then Pospisil, Will Cuylle, Luke Shen, McBain, Walker of St. Louis, I like him, Gudas, Hathaway, Marcus Foligno, who I like too, but he's 33, Cotter, Trennan, and then Kolasar, Tolvanen, Tom Wilson with 233, Brady Tkachuk with 228, Uyghur, Torbchenko, AJ Greer, Zadorov, Kastelik, Trocheck, Moritz Seider, and Tanner Janot. So there's 2 players that are on this list that I think are worth taking a look at. One is Tanner Janot. And let's take a look at him. He had a cap hit of $2.665 million per year. It was a 2-year deal. He's 28 years of age. He's 6'2", 220. If memory serves me well, I think he dropped the gloves with Arbor Jackeye already and did very well for himself. He's a UFA. He's coming off a season where he had 13 points and 14 points the year before that. How much money can this guy make as a UFA? Maybe somebody might want to give him something stupid. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that this could be a player, Denny, that a lot of teams would hate to play against.
Right. I agree. I don't think his salary is going to go up. That's for sure. I think it's going downward. So you'll get him probably cheaper than that. The thing,
I'm not so sure about that.
well, I just don't like the way, like,
A lot of people do stupid things on July 1st.
well, okay, stupid things. People will do stupid things. All right, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe on that, but I think, a $3 million player, the guy that hasn't broken 15 points in 4 years, and I understand that he dropped.
Should we be looking at that though? Should his game be measured in points?
But it was, because when he was signed or traded for, and he was traded for a truckload of picks, and he was coming off 24 goals, right? So it was one of those things where everybody thought his value was so high, and now it just went down. But for me, I love Tangent. If he comes here, I'd be happy. He fits the bill way better than the guy we had 13th forward here. Like he's just a bigger size guy, and he's a lot more intimidating. He knows his role. He knows how to do it, and I get that. I just think, I don't think that's the hole we need to fill right now. I think the role as far as playing minutes and physical. I mean, he fits that. We have some guys that are there now, but Anderson is that guy for me right now, and he's just playing her up. But I understand. But I think our holes that we need to look at and fill, we need to be it bigger. We need to, in the top six, we need to find the top six center. We need to find a right-handed D. So that's why my eyes weren't really necessarily going for Tangent, because some depth guys,
I got you. But that's why I went there, because I knew your eyes probably were not going to go there. I'm trying to fill out the team, right? I'm trying to get better step by step, right? And maybe going in reverse order. All right, okay. There's another player that's top 5 or top 6 on that list for hits, and maybe they love him because of that in New York with the Rangers. But let's take a look at Will Cuyle's situation. All right, here you have a player who makes $828,000 a year. He's an RFA right now, so obviously he's the type of player that you can offer sheet.
Yeah.
Then he's coming off a season of 20 goals, up from 13, 45 points, up from 21. It's a left-handed shot. Can you acquire a player like the 6'3", 215 or so? You put this guy who hits everything. You put him on the second line with Demidov on the other wing, and hopefully a center that you go out and get. This guy can probably, with the right players, the right environment, he could probably take his 20 goals to 30 goals.
You're right. He's probably one of a perfect complementary offensive guy, with two guys that, a plug and play kind of guy that can fit in with a duo somewhere, and he won't slow them down. He'll keep the play progressing forward, and you'll be able to execute and take passes, make plays. What I always look at in situations like this, like he's had over 30 goals once in junior, right? So is he going to be a 30-plus goal scorer in the NHL? And they rarely do. They rarely score more goals in the NHL than they did in junior, right? So maybe he's got 1 year at 43, which I see there on the screen, which is great. He's not a, prolific scorer, but he certainly did well with the Rangers this year and with the situation he was in. But what he brings that some of the other guys didn't, and why you bring him up, I'm sure, is the intangibles, right? He's the guy that's a physical. He gets in there, he gets his nose dirty, and he's got that size we're looking for, and he can complete, two skilled guys. So he's probably a middle six. I mean, he's probably a second or third line player on most teams, but I like what the Rangers, did with him this year and the role that he was getting for cheap. And, it'd be an interesting guy to look at. I agree with you, especially at 23 years old. He fits right the bill what we're looking for.
I'm almost scared to bring up the next player, so I won't bring him up until you answer a question, because you said something before. There's a lot of big guys who play small.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question, or else I'm not going to bring him up at all, because unfortunately, the player that I'm looking at does not play big. He averages, he had less than a hit per game. He averages about a hit to 1.2 hits per game for a huge guy. That's nearly nowhere good enough. But I want to ask you this, though. For you, a big body, sometimes even if that player is not a player that goes out and hits everything and is not nasty, are you still intrigued by having that big body? Because a bigger body at the end of the day can still lean on you and is harder to move. And if your answer is yes, I'll bring up his profile. If your answer is no, I'm not bringing it up at all.
Yeah, I'm interested if he's surrounded properly. I don't want a big guy in the top 6 that kind of, I use him for space and I use him for size, but he doesn't create space and doesn't use his size, right? So, but if he's a 40-goal scorer that plays in Texas, I mean, I'm curious, right? But I would. He's not a guy that I want in my lineup or that kind of role for $8 or $9 or $10 million eventually, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, he plays in Texas, but he's not a 40-goal scorer. So let's bring him up, okay? Mason Marchment.
Oh, I love him though. I thought you were going for Robertson.
He's 6'5".
Yeah.
212 pounds. He's going into the final year of his contract at $4.5 million. He'll be a UFA after that. You know, he's coming off a 22-goal season in 62 games, up, you know, the same amount of goals a year ago in 22 goals, but in 81 games. Unfortunately, you talked about missing games. This is a player that if you take a look at, you know, 3 or 4 of his last 3 of the last 4 seasons, he is a player who misses games, but he played 62 this year, 81 the year before, 68 the year before, 54 the year before. He did not have a good playoffs and has not traditionally had good playoffs. 5 points in 18 playoff games, 5 points in 13 playoff games the year before that, 6 points in 18 playoff games. But sometimes a player goes to a different environment where he has a more important role, plays with other players in another system with another coach, and can actually take those numbers to another level. Once again, this player does not play big, but he's a big body with hands.
Right.
You like it?
And he's inconsistent in playing big. I'll throw it this way. I've seen him do things and be a a BS artist on the ice and get under people's skin at times. But I like the potential of that guy. Like I don't think it's just when you're talking about 29 years old, how much more potential is there left to get that we haven't seen yet, right? He's 29.
He'll turn 30 actually in a couple of weeks.
So when he's on and when he brings those things, I like him, right? Because he's got a good mix of, a few in his game when he wants to be and when he wants to do it, and he'll get under people's skill. He might even be dirty at times, like you give him a cheap shot or two here or there, but he's not necessarily that type of player consistently. Like he's a skilled player that's stuck in a power forward's body, let's put it that way. So he's a guy I'm interested in having around if he becomes available for a cheap price and for a lower cap hit, and see what we can do with him and see what Marty St. Louis can do with that kind of player, because he's still got a few good years in him for sure. At the age that he's at, and Marty St. Louis has done pretty well with some good projects here in the last few years in Montreal, and Josh Anderson is one of them. So who knows what he could do or could become, but there's some skill there to work with for sure.
Who do you have to win the Stanley Cup? Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. Your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. Please play responsibly. Denny, we've given our listeners and our viewers a lot to think about and a couple of names. And who knows? Maybe it gets back to Messieurs Gorton and Hughes. And should they acquire one of these players, it could be bragging rights for either of us, which will be kind of cool, right? Denny, thanks for doing this. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure. Talk to you.
It's the Sick Podcast. Special thanks to Shane Gomoa, Master Control, and all of our sponsors. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.